Welcome to episode 16 of The Player and the Journalist with Karson Harris and David Vick. In this episode, we rank our top teams, predict conference champions, and share our thoughts on the 2023 NCAA season. Less than a month away, Karson. How are we doing on this January day?
I am counting down the days. Honestly, I'm more excited for lacrosse season this year than I was probably for any of my years actually playing lacrosse. I'm so excited to watch it through this different lens of being a host of a podcast while I watch it. And I'm just really excited to get it started.
Awesome. Yeah, you're an analyst now. You might have a future on ESPN. You know, they need more analysts.
No, I can't. I cannot do my hair and makeup like that every day. That's
why they have professionals. They have professionals that do it for you, high quality treatment.
That'd be better.
Okay, so we're going to jump right into it with our top 5 teams. We're going number 5 through number 1. Karson, get us started.
All right. At number 5, I have UNC. I couldn't just leave them out of the top 5, and I didn't think they deserved any higher than 5. They just don't have, we talked about in an earlier podcast, they just don't really have a goal scorer. They're kind of young. They have a lot of players, but none that are just the dynamic goal scorer, like person that you want to watch when they step up onto the field. So I couldn't put them any higher than 5 for that reason, but I also had to put them on my top 5 because I have so much confidence in Jenny Levy that she'll pull something out and all of a sudden have this incredible team that no one saw coming. They've also always had kind of a team dynamic. So they've had Jenny Ortega, they've had people that were scoring, but they've still always kind of had this team dynamic where there's a bunch of different people are putting up points and numbers. So I think they can rely on that and start to get people who necessarily weren't producing just enough. 7 people scoring 3 goals is a lot, right? Or 7 people scoring 2. So I think that they deserve to be the top 5 only because of their style of play. Might actually work out in their favor to not having a goal scorer and somebody like that's a dynamic threat. So they're my
For
fifth.
Sure. Before you go to number 4, I actually have North Carolina at number 5 as well. And I literally wrote down Faith and Jenny Levy, just like you said.
No.
Because I almost had Syracuse at number 5, but I just have so much confidence, like you said, in Jenny Levy. She's one of the best coaches in the country. North Carolina is always good. They're always relevant. And do I think they'll win the national championship? No, but they will be good. They will be a good team, just like you said. So I agree with you on number 5.
Yes, we're on the same. I love when we're on the same page. So my number 4 was Boston College. I also think that they couldn't go any higher than 4. Honestly, they almost didn't even make my top 5 because I just think that when they needed a goal, they always went to Charlotte North. Every time they were in a close game, they went to Charlotte North, and they don't have her this year. And when you lose somebody like that, you need a year to figure it out. Like, you don't just bounce back from that and have somebody new that just all of a sudden starts being a Charlotte North for you. And so, to make the top 5, you're going to have to win tight games. Like, that's how you're going to get there. And I just don't know if I have confidence in them to finish tight games without her, without that person that they can go to and guarantee a goal in the back of the net. I have a lot of faith in Rachel Hall and Belle Smith, and they have great returners, which is why I put them ahead of North Carolina, because they do have people that can be dynamic, and especially on both sides of the ball. But I can't put them any higher than that because they're just lacking an it factor that they've had for a long time, and it's hard to recover from that when you lose it. So they're my 4th.
I agree. I think just to play devil's advocate, when they lost Sam Mapuzzo, Dempsey Arsenal, Kenzie Kent, the expectations were completely gone. And then obviously the COVID year happened, so no one won a championship. But then coming back the next year, the expectations were still pretty low. Charlotte North was a great player at this point in time, but she wasn't Charlotte North as we know her now. She wasn't, one of the greats to ever play the college game. And then they ended up going to the national championship, and they ended up winning. So I do think that it will be interesting. Obviously, they're losing Charlotte North, who was their go-to, like you said, as opposed to when they lost Kenzie Kent, Sam Mapuzzo, Dempsey Arsenal. They had it spread out as opposed to just one player. So I did play devil's advocate, but I do agree with you that I think it's going to be tough for them. At number 4 for me, I actually have Stony Brook.
Okay.
And the reason I have them at 4 is because I think they have to prove it. They have to prove that they're one of the top 3 teams. I feel like every year they're good, but they're never good enough to beat North Carolina. They're never good enough to beat Maryland or Boston College. And so I think that at some point they will be in the top 3 or top 2 in the country, maybe even number 1. But just because you get there doesn't mean you can stay there. And so that's kind of why I have them at number 4. They have to prove it to me. And I think they have to prove it to everyone, including themselves. They've never even been to a Final Four. So they have to prove it that they're one of the best teams in the country. And not, I mean, they are one of the best teams, but I mean like upper echelon championship contending teams. You have to go to a Final Four to prove that. You don't have to win in the Final Four, but you have to at least make it to the Final Four. So I have Stony Brook at number 4.
No, I completely agree with you on that one. I think that they're later in I won't give it away, but I have them here. And I do think that they've always been close, but just like not quite close enough. Like they've been right there, and they've been like so close to being a breakout, incredible top 3 team, and they haven't proved it. You're right. And I think that that's a good call. I think that's a good play. My third place is is Syracuse. And
Ooh,
I have them third. I know. They have so many people coming back, right? They have Megan Tyrell, Megan Carney, Emma Ward, Emma Tyrell. They have so many, which is also funny that it's 2 Megans and 2 Emmas. Anyway,
how's Tyrell? The Meg Show.
So they have so much experience, and now Sheila Trainer is coming in her second year as a head coach. She has more experience under her belt, so I think that they're good, but something I feel like always happens to Syracuse. That's why I have them third, because somebody gets injured, they lose some bizarre game that knocks them down. Like, I just feel like they have this devil on their shoulder that they just can't quite get rid of, that always makes them not like quite good enough to be number 1. So I have them third because they have so much talent. Honestly, they should be. With the talent that they have on that team, they should be able to go out and win the national championship. I think easy, hands down. But I just can't put that confidence in them because, God forbid someone gets injured or something happens, like they lose a crazy game. I don't know. So I have them third, but I think they could be all the way down at 7th, or they could be first at the end of this year. I think they're kind of a wild card team for me.
So I agree with one point you made about them having the talent to win a national championship. I believe they have the talent on the offensive side. I think they're going to be able to score with anyone and put up points. Their offense is going to have to lead them this year, I believe. And I think, obviously, Asa Goldstock wasn't there last year. And I think what they struggled with last year was their goalie play. They played 3 different goalies. It was mostly 2. It was Schweitzer and Kimber Hauer. And kind of like they say in football sometimes, if you have 2 quarterbacks, it means you don't have one. And I feel like that was the case for them last year. They had 2 goalies and they didn't have one. And they constantly were going back and forth. Some games a goalie would play good for them. A lot of games they didn't play good. And that's why they kept switching, because there just wasn't good goalie play. And I think last year that's what held them back. I think the goalie was the missing piece. This year, I think they're going to have to show us that they have a goalie, because going into the season, I don't know why we'd believe they would have a goalie when they have the same 2 they had last year, and they didn't get the job done. So I think offensively, they're going to be must-watch TV, and they can score with any team in the country. But defensively, I just don't know if they have enough. The goalie's going to have to play well. They lost Cooper on defense. They do have some defensive players returning, Simpkins, but the goalie is the question mark for Syracuse. If they get that figured out, then I think they are a top 5 team. But they aren't in my top 5.
Oh, all right. Well, that's what I'll be cheering for all season then, just so I can say that they were in my top 5.
Yeah. So number 3, I have Boston College, and I wrote down for them less expectations, which I think will be a good thing for them. I think they'll be a little more free this year. I think, obviously Rachel Hall's back. Charlotte North has gone. I think when the past, or at least last year for sure, after they won the national championship and Charlotte North came back, there was a lot of pressure on them to perform. I mean, there's just a lot of pressure. I think this year, similar to when they lost Apuzzo, Kent, Arsenal, the expectations are going to be off Boston College. They've been to 4 or 5 national championships in a row, something absolutely insane. Okay, I think this year, no one's going to expect them to go to the national championship. At least I don't expect them to. And I think that's what's going to make them a dangerous team. I don't think they'll be overlooked, but I just don't think teams might view them the same way as they did last year with Charlotte North. And so obviously it's a long season, but I think Boston College has some talent. They've got Belle Smith, who is a dog in the trenches. I love me some Belle Smith. Okay. So I have Boston College at number 3. Who do you have at number 2?
So 2 is where I have Stony Brook. And I have written down, I do not want to put them this high because I just don't think they're going to make it. Like, I literally didn't even like putting them at 2, but I didn't think anybody else deserved 2. So I just was like, I mean, I honestly, picking 2 was my hardest seed because UNC and BC they shouldn't be 2, but then I wasn't gonna throw like a Florida into, like, I just didn't know who to put because that's such like a
disrespect on the Gators.
Wait, right before I say that, I had Florida at 3 and going into this, and then I switched them out and put Syracuse like literally 15 minutes ago because I was like, no, I take it back. So I was like having serious anxiety about this like 2-3 spot. But I felt like I couldn't pull a team that hadn't been in the top 5 and put them 2, but UNC and BC didn't deserve 2. So I went back and forth with this one for a really long time, and ended up on Stony Brook because they're so close. And like you said in the past, like, they just haven't been able to beat those powerhouse teams like UNC and BC. And I think it just comes from their style of play. Like, UNC and BC are very, I don't want to say calm, but they're more collected. It's more of like grace when they play, whereas Stony Brook is like, it's aggressive and they're gritty and they're fast, and it's like that Long Island lacrosse that you learn to hate. And so I just think that those style of plays have clashed for them because UNC's also had the better talent. But now that those teams might kind of be starting to fall down off of their high horses, I think Stony Brook's like speed and grittiness is the word, they might actually be able to overcome those hotshot teams that we're so used to seeing them lose to. So this could be their year. Ali Macera, I'm obsessed. I love her. I just want her to do great things all the time. And so I think that she has a chance to carry it far. She's got people behind her. But yeah, that's a very hesitant 2 because I don't know about it. I don't feel good about it. I don't feel great about it.
Yeah, I think obviously they're a top 5 team in both of our opinions. So I think at number 2, I can't push back too much on that. Obviously I don't have them at number 2, but I think what will be interesting is, so you mentioned Ellie Macera. We've talked about her in the past. So Stony Brook had Kylie O'Miller. They got to the Elite 8, lost to Boston College in overtime to go to the Final Four a number of years ago. They had Allie Kennedy, didn't make it to the Final Four. Now they have Ellie Macera, a 3rd star for them. So I feel like it would be a feather in her cap if she can get them to the Final Four. Okay, I think it would be, if she can get them to the Final Four, I think she might be the best Stony Brook player of all time. Because it's not about just the goals. It's not about just the wins. It's about when you win. It's about how far you can go in the postseason, because that's what matters, is the postseason. You can do whatever you want during the regular season in the American Least Conference, okay? And so obviously they're not in the American East anymore. But now they're going to be in a better conference. They're going to be more postseason ready, I believe, because they are in a better conference, a conference you know very well. And so I believe that if she can get them to the Final Four, it would just be the biggest honor and biggest accomplishment any lacrosse player at Stony Brook has ever had.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think she's just such a presence on the field, too. It's like she's not just a goal scorer. Like, she's constantly doing things. Her eyes are just constantly on her, which we've talked about before. So she's got it. I think she's got it in her. I have faith.
We'll see. So at number 2, I have Maryland, okay? But I'm assuming based on your list, you have them at number 1. I have them at number 2 because I'll explain. I think overall, they're going to be a great team. I think they are a Final Four team, and they very well might win the national championship. Okay, this is going to be a great year for them. They lost Aurora accordingly. But don't forget, they still have Hannah Lubecker, who is a beast. Okay, I think she is very underrated. She's not on social media. People don't talk about her a lot, but she's a beast. Okay, I love Hannah Lubecker. She's going to have an amazing year. Abby Bosco's on defense. You got Sterling in the cage. Those are 3 stars at every single position, okay? And that's not even to mention Marge Donovan, who came over from Princeton. That's not to mention this freshman class that has been hyped up by so many people, which we'll see if they're going to be good or not. I think Maryland is going to be a great team and could very easily win the national championship. I think this will be a vintage Maryland year. Obviously, they went to the Final Four last year, but it wasn't like they were feared, or it wasn't like, oh, this is Maryland. This is Maryland in their truest form. I think Maryland this year is going to be the Maryland of old, and they're going to be teams aren't going to want to play it. Northwestern, they might get smacked around by Maryland. I'm sorry, okay, but it's going to be interesting to see. I have Maryland at number 2. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I have them at number 1. And I when I tell you I can't explain it, like I really mean this. My gut is just like they're gonna do it. I don't know why, but like when we've talked about it from the very beginning in the fall, like there's just something telling me that this team's just gonna be great. I feel like they are gonna have the it factor, and I agree with you. Like I feel like they've been lacking it for a long time. They've been great because they're Maryland, but they haven't had that Maryland that I grew up watching, thinking like this team's never going to lose. I don't know. And we talked to Jalen about like their defense. They just have such a strong core veteran defense back there, and defense wins championships, so that's got to be something for them. And they do have such a strong offense also. But with Aurora accordingly gone, like obviously she's going to be a huge loss. Like that's going to be someone that they're going to have to recover from. But I was looking through the roster at people, and they have people who put up points. They just aren't these huge numbers. And so I think with her gone, Jordan Lipkin scored 20 goals last season. Like 20 goals is nothing that's to sneeze at. That's a good solid chunk of goals to score in a season. And with this star gone, that's Aurora accordingly, I think that they have the people to step up. Normally when you lose somebody like that and you look behind them, if they don't have anybody to fill those shoes, that's when you get worried. But it's almost more exciting for them because they have people to fill their shoes, and everyone that was good last year also has a year of experience. So I chose them as 1 mostly because of my gut, but it was an educated gut. So they're my number 1.
I think they'll be just fine offensively. Personally, I am very excited to see who steps up for them in terms of their freshman class. I think obviously Jalen Rosga playing midfield. I think obviously we don't know how much playing time she'll get. You never know with the freshmen, but I think they will have freshmen step up. They had such a big freshman class, such a highly touted freshman class. And so I'm excited to see who emerges from that freshman class as a true freshman, as a high impact player for them. So Maryland, I'm excited to watch them play. And I want to say it's not the same old Maryland as far as like year after year they're going to national championship. We're annoyed about it. They haven't been in a while. I'm not annoyed with Maryland at this point in time. No offense to Maryland of years past. Okay, so I am excited to see Maryland. But at number 1, I've got the Duke Blue Devils. Okay, it's the beginning of the Katie DeSimone takeover era. Headed to the top, Coach Kimmel is the boss. Okay. Duke is going to be smacking fools this year. Sophia LaRose is healthy in cage. My goodness, I cannot wait to watch the Duke Blue Devils. Okay, they're going to win the ACC. They're going to win the national championship. They are the number 1 team in the country, in my opinion, and they are going to surprise some people. Not surprising me, because I'm telling you right now what's going to happen. Okay, Duke is going to be a force this year. Katie DeSimone, like I said, woo-wee. Watch and learn, kids. Okay, you got Jenner at the draw. You got Sophia LaRose in cage. If she's having a bad day, put in Kennedy Everson. No worries whatsoever. Duke is going. This is their year, okay? They're at least making it to the Final Four. And obviously, when you get to the Final Four, anything can happen. But this is the Blue Devils' year, okay? Number 1, Duke Blue Devils, okay?
Yeah, I'd love to support you on that one. There's just something telling me that's going to be a you thing. I don't know. I don't know if I can get behind that one.
Hey, we will see, Karson. Let me tell you this. Whether you have them in the top 5 or not, there's no way they should be number 11. They're definitely a top 10 team. I don't know what the voters were looking at. It blows my mind that they're number 11 in the USA Lacrosse Magazine poll. I'll be interested to see where they are in the IWLCA poll, because the coaches know what's up more than USA Lacrosse Magazine. No offense. The coaches are in tune. They know the recruits. They know who's coming back. They know the coaches, the schemes, all that stuff. So I'm interested to see where Duke ends up in that poll. So to recap our top 5 teams, we both have North Carolina at number 5. And then we did not agree on 4 through 1.
Exactly. Yes. Do you mean to list them?
Yeah, yeah. Let's just recap the 5 through 1.
All right. 5, I got UNC. 4, I got Boston College. 3, I have Syracuse. 2, Stony Brook. 1, Maryland.
Okay, well, quick question. Do you honestly think Syracuse is going to be better than Duke this year?
Yes.
Oh, sheesh. Okay. I have North Carolina at 5, 4, Stony Brook, 3, Boston College, 2, Maryland, 1, the Duke Blue Devils. Okay. Super excited. Listen, you might think I'm crazy because I've been on their bandwagon for months now. But I just have a feeling, like that song goes. Okay, I'm excited to watch Duke. Moving on.
We agreed on our teams. Besides the Syracuse Duke thing, we have the same teams in our top 5.
That is true. Unfortunately, yours are wrong.
Unfortunately, your opinion is wrong, but
okay. Hey, when we recap the season, it'll be interesting to look back and see what we got right and what we got wrong. Because obviously, both of us are going to get some stuff right throughout the course of the season, and both of us are going to get some stuff wrong. It's bound to happen. So.
Blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. We'll be something.
Okay, moving on to conference champions. We are going to go through each Division I conference and give our conference championship predictions. Okay, starting with the A10, Karson. If you don't mind, I would like to go first on this one.
Go for it.
Because I know you love St. Joe's. I'm not sure if you're going to pick them, but I am not going to pick them because they lost 10 seniors and 3 graduates from last year. I feel like last year was everything built up to it. They had a great season. Congratulations to them. They earned it. I think this year it's going to be same old, or same old as other than last year. I think it's going to be UMass. Okay, that's my pick. UMass wins the A10.
All right. Well, I do love St. Joe's because they had the same Cinderella story as Drexel did, so they had a sweet spot. But with that being said, I also did not pick St. Joe's, but I picked Richmond because I also love Richmond, and I know UMass didn't really lose anybody, and I know Richmond didn't really lose anybody, and I know that UMass smacked Richmond last year. I know all of that. I love the way Richmond plays, and I think that UMass losing to St. Joe's last year, it could, I'm hoping, give them a little bit of doubt when they get there the next year. Anyway, so yeah, Richmond's mine.
That's interesting. I think Richmond, they're always a good team. They're always relevant. They always are competitive. I just think that they are a tier below UMass. I think UMass has dominated the A10 for years. I think UMass, they do have a new head coach, so that'll be interesting to see that dynamic. But that'll be interesting. And I'm pretty sure Aurora Accordingly is an assistant for UMass, actually.
Wait, also, am I wrong about this? UMass isn't in the U.S. Lacrosse Top 20, and Richmond is.
I saw that Richmond was. I didn't even notice if UMass wasn't.
I'm looking at it right now, and maybe I'm blind, but I don't think UMass is in the top 20.
Okay,
Richmond is.
Let me pull it. Let's pull this up.
So
I'm gonna go to laxextras.com. Little plug there. Everyone go to laxextras.com for your rankings each week. Okay. Yeah, I don't see them. Richmond is number 20. Do not see UMass.
So I'm just saying, I might have the U.S. Lacrosse magazine behind me when I pick Richmond, is all I'm saying.
I mean, not a bad choice. Richmond is always relevant. They're always going to be competitive, so that'll be interesting. Going to the ACC now, the second of our 15 conference picks. You already know I chose the Duke Blue Devils. Kind of spoiled that a few months ago. I got faith in the Blue Devils. Who do you have winning the ACC?
I have Notre Dame.
What?
Yeah, I do. Because, first of all, here's the thing. I just couldn't pick UNC or Boston College because I couldn't, right? We talked about their skill set. And then I couldn't pick Duke because I knew you were going to pick Duke. And I knew that, Notre Dame had 2 girls in the top 50, which I don't know how many Duke had, but Notre Dame had 2. And then they had 2 on our list of top 5 not in the top 50. That's 4 girls that we think should be in the top 50 coming back. I think that they just didn't lose that many people, and I love watching them play. And they had some games last year that you saw the spark. So anyway, Notre Dame's mine.
Okay, no disrespect to Notre Dame with my reaction to that. I just thought you were going to pick Syracuse since you had them so high in your rankings. So I was definitely caught off guard with that one.
Being honest.
So Notre Dame, shout out Madison Ahern, longtime supporter of Lacrosse Extras, and we will have her on this podcast at some point. We will. Casey Choma is one of my most exciting players to watch in the country. I absolutely love watching her, her fire, her grit, her competitiveness. I think she is an absolute gem, and I'm thankful that I get to watch her compete every single Notre Dame game. I think Notre Dame is going to be good. I think they have a chance this year in the ACC because I don't think North Carolina is going to win the ACC. I don't think they're going to the ACC championship. And so that leaves I think the ACC is really wide open this year, to be honest. While I do have Duke, I think the fact that they haven't been there before, that could be a hurdle. And so whether they win the ACC or not, they're still going to win the Natty. But anyways, I think the ACC is going to be very interesting to watch, and it's not like the Big Ten. Well, I won't say anything about the Big Ten. I don't want to spoil my pick. But I think the ACC is very wide open this year, so that should be fun.
I think everyone's got a chance.
Except for Clemson. I'm sorry, they don't have a chance.
No.
Okay, we're going to the America East Conference, which should not have an automatic bid anymore with Stony Brook being gone to the NCAA tournament. Who do you have winning the America East?
I have Albany because they've been waiting for Stony Brook to leave for years, and they've always been they're always in the championship with them, and then they just they lose. So I think that the fire of Stony Brook leaving will give them a championship.
Interesting. I think this conference is a toss-up. So they added Bryant, who was pretty good last year.
Mm-hmm.
Vermont had a great season last year. It kind of came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
You have – who did you pick again?
Albany.
Albany. Okay, you have Albany. I think New Hampshire is a respectable team as far as the conference goes. But I went with the Catamounts of Vermont. They have a lot of players returning. I don't know how to say her last name, Ava Vasile. She's a beast on attack. I've loved watching her for her 4 years. I believe she's a senior this year. I saw her play as a freshman when they played at Mercer. I was super impressed with her then. She is smooth like butter. Okay, I love watching her play. They have a lot of players coming back. They did lose some, but they are still a very experienced team. And so I think the Catamounts get it done. But I think it's a toss-up. I think it could go. I think 3 or 4 different teams could win the America East, to be honest.
I agree. I was between Albany and Vermont because I did like the way that Vermont played last year, and I feel like that could have been a propeller to this year. But I had to go Albany because I'll feel horrible for them if they still don't win a championship after Stony Brook leaves.
All right, sticking with the A's, the American Athletic Conference, who you got?
I have Florida.
Okay.
And I was between JMU and Florida because I feel like they play very similar. And now JMU's in this new conference. They're going to have I just thought maybe, but their strength of schedule is so different. Florida is stacked with Michigan, UNC, Maryland, Arizona State, who I consider to be a good team, Loyola.
Mercer,
of course. I mean, that's going to be a run for the money. But I just think that their strength of schedule is stacked compared to JMU's, who's Liberty, High Point, Hopkins, Ohio State, just teams that I think aren't going to challenge them in the same way that Florida will be challenged throughout the season. So when it comes down to winning the championship, I think Florida will be more prepared for it. So they're my pick.
So yes, the American Athletic Conference, you mentioned JMU. The conference is better as a whole now with JMU in it. I don't think the expectations are very high for James Madison this year. I think they'll be good, but I don't think they'll be great by any means. I just don't think they're on the level of Florida. Florida has so much coming back. They added Taylor Wareheim. They have Sarah Resnick and Cage, who can be inconsistent at times, but when she's on, she's one of the best goalies in the country. And she is tiny in that cage, but man, you don't want to mess with. Don't try her because she's gonna stop your shot. Okay, she's gonna stuff you. Denied. Okay. Anyways, I think Florida wins, and I'm gonna give you a conference championship. The 2 teams are going to make it, actually. I think Florida beats Vanderbilt in the conference championship.
I like
Vanderbilt, I'm very high on Vanderbilt. They've been on the rise for the past few years. Their coaching staff has done an amazing job. I think that Vanderbilt is a team that's a future top 10 team if the coaching staff stays intact, because they're in Nashville. It's a great location, easy to recruit there, I would think. They're a private school. The education is great. They have the facilities. They have the nice unis. Okay, they got everything. I think Vanderbilt, 5 years from now, we're going to be talking about Vanderbilt as a team making deep tournament runs, I believe. Okay. It's not going to be easy, but I think they're on the right track. So I'm taking Florida over Vanderbilt.
All
Don't know
right.
if it'll be a close game, because last year Vanderbilt, they came up short, and I mean about 20 miles short, okay, against Florida. But I'm taking Florida beating Vanderbilt in the American Athletic Conference Championship.
All right.
Moving on to the next one, I feel like this might have been the easiest choice for both of us.
Yeah, I literally have written down they have to get out of this conference.
Yeah, it's bad. So I will say what Karson just implied is Jacksonville. There's no competition for Jacksonville. Liberty is a good team, but Liberty is just it's just not going to happen. Jacksonville's going to roll as they always do.
Yep.
In the A-Sun. Okay, that was quick and easy. Going to the Big Ten now.
For Big Ten, obviously, I picked Maryland. Between them and Northwestern, who's relying on Izzy Skane coming back from an ACL, we've seen how that plays out in the NCAA before. It's not always great. It can be, but it's not always great. And so I just think that Maryland kind of runs away with that one, in my opinion. And then they go win a natty.
Yeah, but unfortunately, to win a natty, they're going to have to get through a team from North Carolina that's not named UNC, if you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, I have Maryland as well, but I actually think that Rutgers is going to be the second best team in the conference.
True.
And I think that'll be – Rutgers has been another team that has been on the rise the past few years with Melissa Lehman at head coach. They've done a great job. They have Cassidy Spillis, who is a great two-way midi. I think Rutgers – I think they're going to be good enough to beat Maryland, but will they be able to beat them when it matters most, and that's in the conference championship? Who knows? Anything can happen in the postseason. But I do take Maryland to win the Big Ten just like you.
I think that's a big ask from a team who's like just now on the rise to go to the – that's a tough ask out of Rutgers, I think. I can see them. They're going to be like – I agree with you. They'll probably be good enough, but I think that's mentally a tough ask. So Big East, right?
Yeah, Big East is next.
All right, I have Denver winning the Big East. I feel like that one, Georgetown's kind of on the decline. They're starting to lose. They're losing steam from how they previously were. I almost picked Villanova because I have so much faith in Jill Batchelor as a head coach that I was like, you know what? If they come out and they could just win everything. You never know what she's going to produce and what she's cooking up back there. So, but I obviously can't. I have to go Denver because their defense is the most insane thing I've ever seen in my entire life. So.
Yeah, and speaking of their defense, they have Sam Thacker coming back, an All-American. I think Denver wins the Big East as well. But keep your eye on Villanova. I don't think this is going to be their year, but over the next 2 to 3 years, I think they're going to make some noise. Talk about consistency with their coaching staff. Their coaching staff has been together for years now, and now they're at Villanova. You know their coaching staff very well. I think Villanova is a team that's on the rise. Yeah,
I mean, that coaching staff coached Bryant to a championship, coached us to our first ever championship game. Don't count them out with that coaching staff, I think.
For sure. Okay, now this is probably the conference I've most been looking forward to, and not just because it has my alma mater in it. Okay, the Big South Conference. Let's just say this: the two top teams in the conference last year, High Point and Mercer. Before that, Mercer was in the SoCon, the Southern Conference, and they were kind of the class of that division with Furman for a while. High Point just dominated the Big South. Then Mercer came to town last year, and there was a new sheriff in town. Okay. Who do you have winning the Big South?
I have Mercer winning the Big South because, they beat High Point in the tournament. They lost them in regular season, but High Point lost Abby. I'm gonna probably butcher
Abby
her.
Horns.
Yep, Abby Horns, who just casually scored 103 goals last year. That I don't even remember anybody talking about her. And as I was like looking at for this, 103 goals is a lot of goals. And to lose somebody that's producing for you like that, I've said it a million times. That's a tough ask to come back and bounce back after a year like that. So I have Mercer because they were already giving them a run for their money last year, and now High Point's out Abby, so Mercer's mine. So
yes, Abby Horns, the greatest goal scorer in the history of High Point, one of the greatest goal scorers in NCAA lacrosse. I want to say she she went to number 1 at some point last year in career goals. Unfortunately, the NCAA does a terrible job keeping up their stat book for women's lacrosse. So I cannot confirm that, but I know she's up there somewhere. So yeah, Abby Horn's a great player. She will be missed by High Point. I have 3 words for you for Mercer and High Point because they're going to be in the conference championship.
Right.
No offense to the other teams. This is a good conference, though. You have Gardner-Webb. You have Campbell. It's a respectable conference, and I think it's a fun conference to watch. I have big on big, okay? That's what Mercer and High Point represents. You got big on big, okay? I have some facts for you.
Okay.
High Point has 16 upperclassmen on their team this year. That's a lot. Okay, that's a lot. You know how much Mercer has? 25, okay? 25 upperclassmen, that includes 3 graduates, okay? Absolutely wow. Insane number of upperclassmen. Their roster is kind of big, but 25 upperclassmen, that is crazy. Okay?
That's crazy.
So I was leaning towards High Point until I saw that, because Mercer did lose their go-to goal scorer, and Haley Radigan transferred to Northwestern. It will be very interesting to see how that plays out this year. And so I think Mercer, they have some talent. They have some players that aren't well known, but I've seen them up close and personal. They've got some talent. They can get the job done. And also, another fact for you in support of Mercer. I believe their starting goalie this year is going to be Kate Vanderland, who once told me she was described as eating sandwiches as a squirrel. Fun fact. Anyways, Kate Vanderland, a little quirky, but you got to be to play the goalie position.
I thought that was your fact for why they were going to win it. I was like, I mean, quirky, sure.
But anyway, so Kate Vanderland, she's a senior. When I was there during the COVID-shortened season, I was at their practices. I was doing commentating for them. I thought she was the best goalie on the team. There was a junior, who was a great goalie who stayed for a 5th year, and that's why Vanderland is now a senior and who has not played a whole lot. But she's come in, she's had good moments off the bench, and I think she was the best goalie on the team as a true freshman. They have 3 or 4 goalies on the roster this year, I'm pretty sure. But I'm pretty sure she will get the start. I'm pretty sure she's going to get the start. I think it's going to be an upgrade at the goalie position for them. And I think that it's going to be Mercer and High Point. Mercer's going to get the job done, and they're going back to the NCAA tournament. Or hopefully this year they don't go down 40-0 in the first 10, 20 minutes against Florida, okay? Which they shouldn't have even been matched up with Florida in the NCAA tournament last year. That's just completely unfair. Anyways, Also, fun fact, Florida goes to Mercer this year, which I think is very cool because you have these big-name teams, and usually all the smaller teams go to them. Mm-hmm. Whereas this year, Florida is going to Mercer. It's a short, I think it's just 4 to 6 hour drive between schools, so it's not too long. Okay, Karson, don't act spoiled now. Okay, so Florida is going to Mercer, and I'm excited for that game. So, long story short, we both have Mercer winning the Big South. Yes. Okay, next conference, CAA.
Oh, this is a dagger. This is a dagger right to the heart, and I have to choose Stony Brook, but it hurt to do it, and I don't want to talk about it.
I hope Corinne Bednarik listens to this.
No. Oh, no. Anyway, yeah, Stony Brook, I mean, they're in my top 5. They've got to win the CAA, but every fiber in my body didn't want to pick them. So
interesting. You know who I have? I have the Drexel Dragons not winning the CAA. I'm going with Stony Brook.
That's what I said.
Okay. I think that the CAA they upgraded with Stony Brook. Obviously, if they could have kept JMU and Stony Brook, that would have been best case scenario. CAA is going to be fun. Ivy League. This might be an easy one. What do you have?
I don't know if it's going to be an easy one. Now I'm nervous about my pick.
Oh, who'd you pick?
Did you say Yale?
I didn't say Yale.
I said Yale. But now I'm insecure about it. Did you say Princeton?
Yeah.
I couldn't say. They lost their girl. They lost Kyla Sears. And she was like their it girl last year. I don't know. I think that it was so competitive last year. Like everyone was within like 3 or 4 goals of each other. So I struggle with this conference, which is why I was so surprised when you said that you thought it was easy because yes, Princeton's like historically the better team. I think they're in the top 20. I don't think Yale is. So historically, yes, Princeton. I just couldn't pick them this year because Yale was kind of on the come up, and they didn't lose that bad to Princeton last year, and Princeton lost their it girl, so I had to go Yale, but we'll see.
You keep saying it girl, and it keeps making me think of that song by Jason Derulo. Now it's stuck in my head.
I got it, honestly.
So I have Princeton, but in parentheses, I wrote, keep an eye on Yale.
There we go.
I think Yale, like you said, they had a really good season last year. Also, their stadium is one of the most unique venues in the country. It's a very cool stadium. If you ever get a chance to go to a game there, you should go to a game. Very cool. Anyways, back to the lacrosse aspect. I think Yale is a good team. I also think that Harvard has a lot of talent, a lot of underrated talent. So I'm interested to see what they do. I just think Princeton has been the class of the conference for so long. I think they've got more depth than anyone. And obviously they lost their head coach of years and years and years, Chris Saylor, have a new coaching staff. Well, the head coach got promoted from an assistant. So there is some still, what's the word I'm looking for? There's comfort with the coaching staff, I would say, because they have been there. So I'm going to go with Princeton, but I think Yale, keep an eye on Yale. Should be an interesting conference. Like you said, Kyla Sears is gone. Marge Donovan also bailed out of town. She went to Maryland. So who knows what Princeton will have this year, but they're going to have talent. I mean, they got to have talent. They're Princeton. So.
Really good. All right. The MAC. Is this one? Is that what they call this? MA?
Yeah, it's the MAC with 2 A's. We have the MAC with 2 A's and then the MAC with 1 A.
All right. Well, Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. I went Monmouth. I was between Monmouth and Siena. Those were my two I was deciding between. Maybe I forgot somebody now that you're looking at me like that, but I just felt like they still had their transfer from Vanderbilt and Cassidy Ortman, and she had an incredible season for them last year.
She transferred from Vanderbilt?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Why would she do that?
I don't know. Maybe she wasn't playing at Vanderbilt. I didn't look that deep into it. But
she was good. I remember she was good.
Yeah. Anyway, so now she's at Monmouth, and she played great at Monmouth last year, and she's back this year. So they're my pick for the MAC.
The MAC. Okay. I've got Fairfield. I think coming off the end of last season with the reffing situation against Syracuse, not that they would have won the game, but it could have gone either way. I think Fairfield is going to be coming into the season with so much motivation, a chip on their shoulder, and they have someone who's returning for her 6th season of college lacrosse. A la Stetson Bennett at the University of Georgia. They won the Natty. Okay, not saying Fairfield's going to win the Natty, but anyways, she's a midfielder. Kelly Horning, she's returning for her 6th season of college lacrosse, and she has started every single game in her career. So she's going to be a 6-year starter, which is absolutely insane.
That is crazy.
Props to her. I love that she came back for her 6 years. She clearly loves the sport. We love to see it. I think Fairfield gets it done. I think they went to the NCAA tournament last year. I think they're going to go to the tournament again, and they're going to win the conference. Now, going to the MAC with 1A, I think it's the Mid-Atlantic Conference. I don't know why they have 2 names so similar. Anyways, who do you have winning this conference? And let me just add, Eastern Michigan is a new addition to this conference in 2023.
Okay. Well, I have Central Michigan winning, and I feel like we've had this conversation before, so I don't know what you have, but I feel like it's Central Michigan.
It's not.
What?
It's not.
Oh, of course not, because we can't agree. We haven't agreed yet. Yeah, mine's Central Michigan. I just think that Maggie, I'm gonna butcher her last name. You probably know how to say it. Maggie DeBold, not Maggie DeBold. DeBoyd?
I don't know. It sounds like a tool you'd find at Home Depot.
Well, she plays for Central Michigan, and she put up 65 goals last year. And I went through Robert Morris, and they just didn't really feel like they had any sort of and of course, I talk about the offense all the time. I haven't focused that much on defense, but I'm just more offensive minded, and I think they just didn't seem to have an offensive weapon like Central Michigan did. So I decided in a big game, who are you going to look to? That girl. So
the Chippewas. Okay. I have a team in the state of Michigan, but it ain't Central. Okay, I'm rocking with Eastern. Okay, first year as a D1 team, first year with women's lacrosse. They are winning the conference. Okay, we had the story on them. a few months ago for lacrosseextras.com. I think so. Obviously, Central Michigan won the conference last year. Central Michigan's head coach went to Eastern Michigan. I think Eastern Michigan is this is gonna be a storybook season for them if they win the conference. Okay, first year as a D1 team, and they have a chance. It's the conference that they have a chance to win. Let's just be honest. The conference it's okay, and
Right.
it's not the ACC where Clemson has no shot in hell. They couldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight. Fruit fight. Butchered it again. Can't even say that phrase. Okay, anyways. Eastern Michigan is going to win the MAC. Okay. I think they will. There's not a guarantee. This isn't my most confident pick, but I think Eastern Michigan gets it done. Thoughts on that?
I think that the speed of play, I mean, now I obviously this is a it's the Division I conference that isn't obviously playing the top 20 teams. So the speed of play is different in the speed that I played versus probably these teams are playing. But
yeah, it's better over here.
Yeah.
Just what?
Probably, honestly. So the speed of play is definitely different, but I just feel like there's got to be a change between Division II and Division I playing teams. They've only ever played Division II teams.
Oh no, this is their first year ever.
Oh, I thought they were not one. I thought they were one of the ones that came up. This is their first year ever.
No, this is their first year ever.
So you are just crazy then. I thought I was giving you some sort of hope that they'd at least been a team before.
Hey.
Oh my God. All right. Well, never mind. Take it back. Go for it. I don't even have anything.
Okay. That'll be a fun conference to watch. So we have 3 more conferences to choose, and I think just going through the conferences that we have gone through, there is so much action to watch this year in women's lacrosse. I think there's so much unknown. There's so much competition. I think this is going to be an absolutely incredible year. As Karson's dog stretches in the background. So yes, we have 3 more conferences. Let's go to the NEC conference.
Okay. I have Mount St. Mary's for this one. I think I was between them and Wagner. They smacked Wagner in the regular season. It was a closer game in the tournament. I mean, you don't beat a team 15-4 and it's a fluke, I think. I think that's a pretty sure thing. So yeah, that one was pretty easy for me. I think Mount St. Mary's is my semi-confident pick for that team for that conference.
Yes, I have the same choice. It's not a very good conference. Mount St. Mary's is a respectable team, but last season only 2 teams in that conference had a winning record, which is not very good.
Yeah.
And Mount St. Mary's, they've won the conference a few times in the last few years. I don't know the exact number, but they're a good team. Pac-12.
That conference Bryant was in. So Bryant was cleaning up for a while there towards the end.
For sure.
Well, middle of the end, I guess. So
Pac-12, who you got?
I have USC because I know they gained the defender. Stanford, I like Stanford. I just don't think they're going to be able. I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's Stanford USC in the championship of Pac-12. Stanford lost Allie. That girl, I can't remember her last name. They lost
Allie Biacco. I can't.
Yeah,
I don't know how to say it.
Biacco. Yeah, that's right. And they had 2 girls named preseason All-Americans for Stanford, but they were sophomores and a redshirt. It was a sophomore and a redshirt sophomore that they were named preseason All-American. So I don't know if you can bank on them to carry you to a conference championship. So USC is my pick for that.
Yeah, so I think the Pac-12, I think it's a 3-horse race. I think Stanford, USC, and Arizona State. I wanted to go with Arizona State for this pick. However, with a brand new coaching staff, I think it'll just be interesting to see how that plays out. I think they're going to be good, though. They won a conference game in the tournament last year, which I believe was the first time ever. But I think that Stanford and USC are definitely the top level of that conference right now. I think Arizona State enters the season just a step or 2 behind. And I'm going with Stanford. I think they have more talent than USC. I think watching them last year, they had some really good moments. And then they had some moments that they just weren't consistent in some of their games. And so I think I remember the Syracuse game last year. They played Syracuse at the Carrier Dome, which has been renamed to who knows what. And it was a great game. And you're like, wow, this team looks like they can beat anyone. And then they have moments where it doesn't look like that. So I think they're going to be a team that makes a good run in the tournament. I think they're going to win the Pac-12, and I think the Pac-12 will be fun to watch. Also, shout out Oregon. They're a team, if you look at the record last year, it wasn't very good, but they were in a lot of close games, and I'm very high on Oregon. I'm very excited to see what the Ducks do.
All right, last one.
Yeah, last one, and we probably should have chosen a better one for our last one. But hey, we went in order, so.
Yeah, it was alphabetical. It wasn't dramatic, but I have Loyola, no notes. Pretty confident in that one.
I have no notes for them either. However, I do have a little sub note. Army versus Navy is going to be very fun this year. Navy has been good for a while. Army with Michelle Tumo had a really good season last year. I think Army-Navy is going to be very competitive. And I think whoever turns out to be the best team between those two teams is going to be second in the conference.
I agree.
But I don't think I think Loyola is going to win, but I don't think it's an absolute shoo-in, because when you get to the postseason, you get confident, you get that adrenaline going, anything can happen. So while we both have Loyola, I'm probably a little less confident in Loyola than you are, but still overall confident in the game.
I also think Navy is one of those teams, when they get on runs, they look phenomenal. Like, I think that Navy is such a team of momentum, and like they have moments where they just skyrocket into like this great team. So I agree with you. It could be a close one, but I have a lot of confidence in Loyola.
For sure. So those are our 15 Division I conference champions. In summary, you better be watching every single conference and every single game this season, okay? Because it's going to be bonkers, okay? Yes, bonkers is still used in 2022. Sorry, go ahead, Karson.
No, yeah. I was going to say, I think we only agreed on like 3 of them, if it says how wide open lacrosse is this season, because I think we have a lot of different players in the game this year.
Okay, I believe we agreed on more. I think we agreed on, let's see. So we both had Loyola.
Yeah.
Both had Mount St. Mary's.
Yeah.
Both had Stony Brook.
Mercer.
Both had Mercer. Both had Denver. Maryland.
Jacksonville. All right.
Florida. So we agreed on 8. That's not bad.
8 of 15. That isn't bad. And I also think the ones that we didn't agree on, literally anybody could, like, I think those are the ones that are just so wide open. So. Well,
yeah, except for the ACC, it's really not. So it's a one-horse race.
It's a lot of, yeah, with anybody but Duke. Just because of how confident you are.
All right, moving on. We are nearing the end of the show. Obviously, it's a little bit longer, but there's just so much to talk about. And obviously, we are having a great time doing this show. And I hope everyone listening has a great time listening. And you know what? We like to talk. Okay, that's what we do. That's why we're doing a podcast. Anyways,
put us on 2-speed.
We have 3 picks to make for this third section of episode 16. Tewaaraton, national championship, and a team that will surprise people. Let's start with Tewaaraton. Who do you got?
I feel like we have the same person for this one, which is funny.
I don't think so.
On any, really? Of course not. Okay. I have Megan Tyrell as my Tewaaraton winner. I think that she's going to have a strong team around her this year. Like, I wish I should have picked them for the ACC. I think I take back my ACC pick. But she's just they need to have a deep run in the tournament is the problem. For her to win Tewaaraton, she's got to have a deep run in the tournament. And I don't know how confident I am in Syracuse to get that done. But I think if they do get that done, they make it to the championship, they make it to the Final Four. I think she wins it because she is just so clearly the glue guy for Syracuse. And she plays such an active role in that whole thing. So I have them with the side note asterisk that they have to, I have her with the side note asterisk that they've got to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament for that to happen. And I'm not as confident in that aspect of it. I'm really confident in her and her ability to win it. Not as confident in the Syracuse run to the tournament.
Yes, I agree with that. I thought you were going to go with Ellie Macera, though. That's what I thought you were going to go with.
She's too young. You give her another year.
Man, it's time to shine. Ain't no tomorrow. You got to turn up today. Okay. I think Megan Tyrell, she's definitely going to be a finalist if she stays healthy. I think she might be the most electric player in the country this year in terms of goal scoring.
The Tewaaraton, they like the electric one. Like Charlotte North won it last year just because she's Charlotte North. You know?
Yes. But I actually have a midfielder for you, a true two-way midfielder, which is a rare breed, okay?
True.
As we've talked about before. I have Belle Smith. I think...
Hot take.
I don't think it is a hot take, to be honest with you, because I think watching her for the last 2 years, when you watch Belle Smith play, first off, she plays both ends of the field at a very high level. Okay. Also, when she wore the leg sleeve last year, and we posted on Instagram, 99 overall, the leg sleeve, if a player wears a leg sleeve, okay, they're pretty dang good. They're showing some confidence, okay? That's why you don't see a whole lot of players wearing leg sleeve, because they ain't got it, Anyways, so I think Belle Smith, though, I think watching her play, she's just, it's so natural to her. It looks so natural, looks so easy to her. And just the way she runs, I mean, you can just tell she's an athlete, and she's a high-level athlete just by the way she runs. She can shoot it. She's very selfless, okay? She incredibly selfless. She plays very good defensively, and I just think she might not have the flashiest plays like Meg Tyrell, but Belle Smith, I think overall might be the best player in college lacrosse. I think she's that good, and she plays both. I think if you're going to be the best player, you got to play both ends of the field. Excuse me. I think Belle Smith she's going to be a first-team All-American, and if not, it's going to be a travesty. Okay, if not, they might as well get rid of the All-Americans list. Okay, and we'll start doing ourselves over here at Lacrosse Extra. Okay, I think Belle Smith wins the Tewaaraton. So we do have 2 ACC players.
We do, and I agree with you. I just think that when it comes down to how they, I think that if we picked, we'd probably pick Belle Smith. I just don't know if the people who pick would pick Belle Smith. That's my.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it should be all about the flashiness, though, because that's not.
I agree.
That's not the whole. That's not the whole picture, So I think it'll be interesting to see who wins that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. It should be. To be the best player, you've got to do everything. So, all right. Sure. National championship. This one should be easy. You should have, if you haven't gathered by now who we have winning the national championship, you haven't been listening well enough. Maryland is my winner for the Natty.
Maryland is not my winner. As you already know, it's going to be the Duke Blue Devils, baby. Okay, Duke is going to go out there. They're going to get an ACC ring. They're going to get a national championship ring. And these players, listen, if you are interested in these players, as a boy or a girl on the campus of Duke University, you better go and ask them out now, because after this year, their stock is going to be through the roof. Okay, they're going to be too good for you after this year. Okay, you better go make a move now. Okay, Katie DeSimone, Sophia Rose, they're going to be gone. They're going to be on cloud. They're going to be like celebrities in the state of North Carolina. Okay, so if you want them, you better ask them out now, because you're going to miss your opportunity. Anyways,
lock them down.
Yeah, lock them down.
Well, for so surprise, a team that'll surprise people, I chose the entire Ivy League because I think
that ain't the team.
I chose the whole Ivy League because I couldn't choose, and I was having a hard time with it. And I just decided that I think that people have counted them out. Like, I think they used to be legit. Like, the Ivy League was one of those it was like ACC, Big Ten, Ivy League. Like, those three were great teams. Penn was
until it wasn't.
What?
Until it wasn't.
Until it wasn't, but it wasn't because of COVID. Like, COVID absolutely wrecked the Ivy League, in my opinion. Like, they didn't come back till a second year after the rest of us did. Like, last year was their recovery year.
That is true.
We have to keep that in mind. They had their 2020 season they didn't have one. And so I think that, what?
Oh, if I can just jump in here, Abby Bosco transferred from Penn. They had talent in the Ivy League, but yeah, they got screwed with COVID. So you're absolutely right on that.
They got screwed with COVID. They don't allow anybody to have fifth year. So all of this fifth year drama with everyone transferring places, you can't happen in Ivy. So I think now that's still in play. So I think give them a couple years before that, you don't see that happen anymore. But I think that the Ivy League now, they're going to be better this year than they were last year. And I think people have just kind of forgotten about them over the past 2 years. And so I think they're going to have some games this year that I think surprise people.
Well, I'll be honest. I'm one of the people that are sleeping on the Ivy League because they're also the whole fifth year rule is absolutely dumb. Okay, they need to change that. That's absolutely dumb. Okay,
it feels hotty toddy. It feels like you're just like too good for a fifth year because you're an Ivy League.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, they ain't competing too well. Anyways, I have an answer for the team that will surprise people, and you're gonna like this one. Okay. It dives into your background, okay?
Okay.
I am going with the Villanova Wildcats.
I like that.
Their schedule sets up nicely. They were 5-11 last year in Joe Bachelor's first year. They're not going to win only 5 games this year. I promise. They might win their first 5 games based on how their schedule sets up, okay? I think Villanova, Jill Bachelor's second year, you already expressed a lot of confidence in her. You've seen her up close and personal. Okay, she just had another baby, and guess what that means? That means she's got to go win another conference championship. She got to get one for her another baby. Okay, I think Villanova is going to be great this year, and I also think with the emergence of Villanova, I'm not saying they're going to win the Big East, not this year anyways. But as they get better and improve, it's going to make the Big East a better conference because right now it's Denver and everybody else. And I think at some point it's going to be Denver, Villanova, and everybody else. And so that's going to be great for the sport, great for the conference, great for the players in that conference. And I think Villanova is going to have a very good year. They are going to have a winning record. Pencil that in. They will have a winning record this year. And I think they're going to surprise people.
I 100% agree. I think they will. She's got a code. She's got the rule book. Somehow Jill Bachelor has unlocked the secret code of coaching women's lacrosse, and she's just going to use it on Villanova, and it's going to – I agree with you. They're all of a sudden going to go be 13-3. I know from experience.
Yes, and also Karson became an All-American under Jill Bachelor. So there's going to be some stars emerging at Villanova. Okay.
True.
Jill Bachelor, we love you. Do not hate us. Do not hate me for calling you out for leaving Drexel, okay? We are unbiased. Anyways, moving on to the fourth and final section. General thoughts. I have two thoughts. Do you want me to go first on this one?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, Clemson ought to be embarrassed, okay? Their non-conference schedule has got to be the weakest I've ever seen. And that's just not going off just looking at it. I've got the numbers to back it up. Their non-conference teams, only 2 of them had a winning record in 2022. Their combined record, give me a guess, combined record, let's say about 150 or 140 or so games. What do you think the combined record was, Karson?
Oh, God. I have no, let's see, 140 games, you said?
Yeah, about 140. That's my quick math, so I'm not sure how close that is.
30 and 110.
Wow, that was really bad. Well, no. Okay, let me back up. The number you just put out, you think their non-conference teams are really bad. You're not wrong. They were 47 and 89.
It's close.
Yeah. Well, yeah, within 20. Yes.
I had 140 was my plus or minus there. I feel like that's really close.
Okay, you know what? You're right. Okay, so anyways, they have only 2 of those teams had a winning record last year. Gardner Webb and Campbell. Clemson ought to be embarrassed. You are in the ACC. Their players ought to be mad with this non-conference schedule. Okay, the coaching staff ought to be embarrassed. There's only 2 reasons I can think that they scheduled the way they did. One, which I don't think this is it. The team's not looking too good. I think they're going to have talent. They're going to be good. I think more likely is because they're in the ACC, and they saw what happened to Pitt last year. Based on their non-conference schedule, they have to win, I think it's just 1 game in the ACC to be 500. If they win 2, they're going to be tournament eligible. So they're going for tournament eligibility. That's what they're going for with this schedule. But it's embarrassing. You're in the ACC. This is an embarrassment to the conference. Wofford, bottom of the barrel. Furman, okay. Winthrop, love them, not very good. Gardner Webb, respectable. Longwood, they've been one of the worst teams in college lacrosse for I don't know how long. Okay. Campbell, okay. Radford, get a load of these 2 teams. Radford and Presbyterian. Each won 2 games last year. 2-14 and then 2-15. Okay. I mean, this non-conference schedule is awful. And I understand that Wofford is in South Carolina. Furman is in South Carolina. Presbyterian is in South Carolina. I think Winthrop's in South Carolina. So they scheduled a lot of teams close to them. But come on. This is ridiculous. Absolutely embarrassment. And I love Maya Scanlon, who just transferred there. She's going to be great for them. So Maya, don't hate me. But this non-conference schedule is an embarrassment. I mean, it's just an absolute embarrassment. Yeah,
I think. I also think that where that comes in. So first of all, yes, like you're now putting out this schedule and everyone's looking at you like I thought you were in the ACC. I thought you were Clemson. What are you doing? But when it comes down to actually like beneficial to the team, it's not. You're not going to get any better playing teams that aren't challenging you. And I just think that how do you improve next year if you haven't tested yourself this year, right? And I just think that there's obviously they're testing themselves in the ACC, but there's teams between Winthrop and North Carolina. There's teams between Longwood and Boston College, like
Mercer, for example.
Mercer, for example.
I think Villanova is another good example. I think don't go off the record from last year. I mean, I think Villanova would be a great team for them to play.
No, I agree. I just think they need to go find the teams that are going to give them a challenge, because playing the caliber of like difference that they have on their schedule right now is not going to get them any better. This isn't how you get better. So I don't think it's good for them as a team either.
Yeah, and I think if you want to schedule regionally to save money on expenses, which is totally understandable, go play Jacksonville. They're not far away. Go play Florida. They're not far. I mean, I go to Virginia. Go play VCU is better than a lot of these teams. Okay, go play Richmond. Go play. I mean, yeah. I don't understand. So I think they're going to win all their non-conference games, but it's just if I'm a player, I forget. I think maybe you talked about this before, or I heard it from somewhere. Like, if you're a player, you want to play the best teams. And now I'm not saying every game you have should be against a ranked team. That's not what I'm saying at all. Because that's just, you need to play some teams that are below you. Yeah. I get that, but how does this help with recruiting? Obviously, they're in the ACC, so they're always going to have that when they're recruiting. We're always going to be playing the best teams, but non-conference, what? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, what's your second point?
I think the American Conference is going to get elevated this year. I think I have my eyes on that conference. So they add JMU. Florida's been the class of the conference for a while. Mm-hmm. It's been Florida and Temple. Temple is still going to be Temple. They're not going anywhere. They're still going to be a very good team, and they can win on any given day, I believe. They can beat anyone in the conference. So you have Florida, you have Temple, you add JMU. And then two teams that are on the rise. I mentioned one of them earlier, Vanderbilt. They've been doing very good stuff. They've just done very good stuff the past few years. Okay, then you have ECU as well, who's also been improving year after year. I think it's going to be harder for ECU to take the next step, but they are a respectable team. They are not to be disrespected. They are a solid, a well-coached team, and they get the job done. They're going to, I think ECU, I'm very high on them and their coaching staff. So I think the American Conference, you have JMU. Excuse me, let me not disrespectful. You have Florida, you have Temple, you have JMU, Vanderbilt, East Carolina. Then you have Cincinnati. Better than a lot of teams on the non-conference schedule for Clemson, but I'll let that one go. And then I think Old Dominion might be in that conference. They're not really relevant, but I think that conference is on the rise, and I think that when we think of the best conferences in the country, we have ACC, Big Ten. I think the American might be making a push to be number 3, number 4.
I would agree with you. And that kind of goes to my final thought, is just how, which we've kind of touched on already, is just how wide open I think this season is. We've had a lot. Boston College, like you mentioned, has made the last 4 national championships. UNC has always been dominant. And last year it wasn't as much fun because you kind of knew those teams were going to make the national championship. If they didn't make the national championship, something horrible was going to happen to not have them there. And I think it's been that way kind of for a while. So I'm just really excited this year to have so many good teams. I think honestly the 5th year I'm not a fan of the whole 5th year thing. I did use it myself, so I can't bash it too hard, but
oh gosh,
I do think that it allowed teams to grow and get better and kind of just branch into categories that they hadn't had before, because there's so many transfers happen. And I think that actually helped some teams grow. So I'm just really excited for the season, and I'm really excited to see how everything shakes out, because there's going to be so many good games this year, and I finally have all the subscriptions to watch them. So I can't wait.
So I'm glad you brought up the 5th years. So obviously we'll have a lot of 5th years this year, and I think just especially for lacrosse, women's lacrosse, where it stands right now, that just ups the level of skill in the sport across the board. It's not like basketball or football where you have a bunch of one and dones, and the skill is constant. I think in women's lacrosse, especially since there wasn't a whole lot of parity, I think the 5th years have been great for the sport as a whole. They've been great for smaller teams. They've been great for just fans and the sport, because there's more skill on each team. There's more skill on the field at one time. So I think that's awesome.
I agree.
And last thing for me, one team we both overlooked, and maybe we'll be right, maybe we'll be wrong. We both kind of just shrugged off Northwestern. They're going to make the tournament. And obviously, when you make the tournament, the bracket really matters, who you end up playing, and the matchups really matter. So I wouldn't be surprised if Northwestern They're going to have a good season. They're going to make I don't know if it's going to be great, but they're going to have a good season. They're going to make the tournament. And who knows what happens when you get to the tournament based on the matchup. So Northwestern will be interesting to watch. And if Izzy Skane, I don't know if either of us think she'll be the Izzy Skane of old just because of the injury she's coming back from. If she is the Izzy Skane of old, watch out. Okay, watch out.
We've got to overlooked.
For sure. Yeah. Awesome. Any final thoughts as we are less than a month away from the season kicking off?
Woohoo! No, that's all I have. I talked my heart out this episode.
I know. I need to go get some water. My throat hurts. Awesome. Well, that is episode 16 of The Player and the Journalist.